You testified that the journal appears to be written from back to front. So opening the front cover, there would be no writing, but if you flip to the back, then it's the 22 pages from the back forward that have writing on them.
It seems that way, yes.
And again, I think this is an obvious question, but I'm going to ask you. You have no indication that James Crumbley was aware that that journal existed, correct?
No, I think I know he knew it existed.
That that journal existed?
Yeah, he mentioned it in his counseling session that why did you write, you can write in your journal.
Right, and we heard from the counselor and we heard from the dean of students, who both testified that there was a mention of a journal, but that there were no specifics given. It doesn't say the journal in your backpack, the one you always keep with you. He didn't provide colors. He didn't provide any descriptive detail. We saw in the search warrant photos that were taken that there were additional notebooks and, could be journals in the shooter's bedroom. He references a journal. The school counselor and the dean of students mentioned a journal, testified about a journal. They indicated that James Crumbley said, you have a journal. But there's no specifics given about what that journal is. Is that fair?
That was a long question.
It was a very long question. Yes. There were no specifics given during that meeting at the school about whether James had any knowledge of what the journal looked like, if he knew what was in it, or anything like that.
No.
Specifically pages 15 and 22 that we have that were admitted as Exhibit 359. On page 15, if you recall, the shooter is writing about wanting a 9mm and that he's mad because he wants to get it because that's what he wants for the school shooting, correct?
Can we put it
Yes. In fact, I can hand this to you because I don't have it electronically. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. It's flipped open to page 15.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm sorry, what was your question, Counselor?
Page 15.
Okay.
There's some mention about the shooter wanting a 9mm gun. He wants it for the school shooting. And he's mad that he hasn't gotten it yet.
I'm not. Yes.
Okay.
He's pissed.
Pissed is the word he used, correct? Page 15 also includes this statement. He mentions the Caltech and says he has to find where his dad hid it.
Yes, that's what it says.
If you'd like to, yes. I'm going to go to page 22 next, Mr. Keese. Mr. Keese is going to put them on the screen for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
May I approach, Your Honor? Thank you, Mr. Keese. So that's the page 15 that you just looked at, correct? The portion that I asked you to look at. And review.
Yes.
Page 22. If you could go to page 22, Mr. Keese, thank you.
There's a few 22.
Page 22, the binding.
Which exhibit number is this?
359, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Page 22, and again, we discussed that this was written along the binding, so along the inside edge of the page, correct, in the journal?
Yes.
And it says, I will have to find where my dad hid my 9mm before I can shoot the school, correct?
That is what it says.
Now, we know based on the testimony that you've heard, and you've been sitting in court during the trial, we know that there was a 9mm handgun purchased on November 26th of 2021. The shooting at the high school occurred on November 30th of 2021. That the shooter and his mom went to the shooting range on November 27th of 2021. So this portion would have been written at some point between November 27th of 2021 and arguably the morning of November 30th of 2021.
Well, now you've confused me. I don't,
Well, we know that there was no 9mm handgun in the house until November 26th of 2021, correct? Based on your investigation.
I see the 9mm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because this specifically references a 9mm.
it does.
This is different than the other on page 15, which specifically references the Caltech.
I got you.
So, although Mr. Crumbley's son says my 9mm, we know that there was a 9mm purchase on November 26th of 2021.
Yes.
That he went to the shooting range on November 27th of
Yes.
2021, and the shooting occurred on November 30th of 2021.
Yes.
So we know, and this page was page 22, which would have been the back cover of the journal. Is that fair? If you recall?
I don't.
If you don't, it's okay. But we can read this and know that it would have been written after definitely November 26th of 2021.
Yes.
On page 3 of the journal, Mr. Cusick, you might mind page 3. Thank you. Access. Yes. If you look at the third line of this entry, it says, I have access to the gun and the ammo. Do you see that?
I do see it.
Now, you don't recall seeing anything in this journal or even around this entry that says, my dad told me where the gun and ammo are. Correct?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. You don't recall reading anything in the journal that says, my dad told me where the gun and ammo are.
I do not.
You don't remember reading anything in the journal, you didn't see anything in the journal that says, my dad showed me where the gun and ammo are.
No, I didn't read that.
So when it says, I have access, you don't know how he obtained access. Is that fair? It just says, I have access. Exactly what the words are.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes. Reading this journal entry and the information that you have that you've read in the journal, this doesn't say how Mr. Crumbley's son had access to the firearm. Is that fair?
That's right. Just simply that he had access.
Simply that he had access.
Understood.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Briefly, thank you, Judge. Starting off with the journal here. You were asked if James Crumbley knew it existed, and you indicated that you believe that the answer was that yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you were here for Mr. Hopkins' testimony as well as Mr. Ejak's testimony, of course, you're the officer in charge of the investigation. In that meeting with James Crumbley, did he say journals, plural, or journal as in singular?
Just a singular journal.
Okay. And there were notebooks found in the home, 112 East Knox. We saw a picture of that. But were there any other journals found?
There were not.
Okay. And you indicated that you believe that you can tell approximately when the journal entries were written based upon the content?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we didn't really go over it in direct examination, but there was an incident on November the 4th, 2021 at Oxford High School. Was that referenced in the journal?
It was.
And an incident that occurred November the 11th, 2021. Was that referenced?
Yes.
Did the shooter reference his friend who left the state October 31st?
He did.
Okay. Was there any indication anywhere in the journal that the 9mm was locked up?
No.
Now, we saw evidence in this case that the shooter obtained access to the Caltech pistol as well.
Yes.
Okay, and that text message was, look what my dad left out.
Correct.
Okay. And what we have on the screen here, page 3, first off, I got my gun. It's an SP-2022 6-hour 9mm. Second, the shooting is tomorrow. We know, of course, the shooting occurred November the 30th, 2021. Can you presume a date on this passage? So this would be November the 21st, presumably?
Presumably.
Okay. Second, shooting is tomorrow. I have access to the gun and ammo. And, of course, we know that he did obtain that weapon.
We do.
Okay. And we know that the murder weapon from November the 30th was the weapon purchased by James Crumbley on November the 26th, 2021.
Absolutely.
I have nothing further.
Brief question?
Okay.
Very brief.
Okay.
and I don't mean to belabor the issue, but when it comes to journals or notebooks, you don't know what James calls a notebook, what he calls a journal. You have no idea. Is that fair?
That's not fair. I do know what he calls a journal because he called it a journal in the meeting with Mr. Hopkins.
Right. He said something about a journal.
He did.
You don't know if he's talking about a notebook. You don't know if he's talking about a journal, like a diary with a lock on it. You have no idea what he's talking about.
I got a pretty good idea he's talking about a journal. That's what I can say.
Right. A journal.
A journal.
The reference to the Caltech that Mr. Keys just asked you about was in August of 2021, correct? He asked about the video that we saw, the text that Mr. Crumbley's son sent to his friend about my dad left it out, LOL, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That was in August of 21.
Can you show me?
If you recall.
I don't recall.
You don't recall seeing anything from November of 21 in the journal or otherwise saying that Mr. Crumbley's son had access because Mr. Crumbley left a gun out in November of 21 or in the journal, correct?
Ask that again, please.
Sure. You don't recall seeing anything during your investigation from November of 21 that Mr. Crumbley had allegedly left a firearm out in the house and his son talked about it.
This is beyond the scope of my redirect.
I still don't understand the question.
Sure, Your Honor. Mr. Keys asked about the text that was sent from Mr. Crumbley's son to his friend about his dad allegedly leaving the Caltech out.
Okay.
And he filmed a video of himself.
Okay.
I'm trying to clarify that that video was in August of 21. I mean, if I need to, I'll pull up the exhibit, but I was just trying to clarify with the detective lieutenant.
Okay, I think if you showed him the exhibit, he'd be able to decide, but you stipulate that that was from August of 21?
Were we talking about the Caltech?
Yes.
Sorry, yes. August 18th, 21, and August 20. I'm sorry.
August 9th.
I did it again. August 19th of 21 and August 20th of 21.
I can tell you what exhibit it was.
Your Honor, they stipulated to the date, so I don't need to ask again.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
I just, based on that, there was evidence that we introduced in this case that the shooter filmed a video of himself holding the 6-hour 9mm handgun November 26, 2021.
Yes.
Okay. And there were also Instagram posts of him holding that same firearm on the 27th of 21.
That is correct.
Okay. And I think I misspoke earlier. I said November 21st as far as this passage being written. This would actually be November the 29th of 2021.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Judge.